Mansa Musa's untold story. Imagine having so much wealth that simply spending it sends entire economies into chaos. A fortune so vast that even today, historians struggle to put a number on it. This isn't the story of a billionaire tech mogul or an oil tycoon. This is the true story of Mansa Musa, the ruler of the Mali Empire and the wealthiest person to have ever lived. His wealth wasn't just measured in gold, it was measured in power, influence, and a legacy that still echoes through history. But what made him different from other rulers? It wasn't just his unimaginable fortune, it was how he used it. In 1324, Mansa Musa set out on a pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that would change the world forever. He traveled with 60,000 people, 12,000 servants carrying gold bars, and 80 camels loaded with sacks of gold dust. Along the way, he spent without limits, funding mosques, showering cities with gold, and paying extravagant prices for goods. His generosity was so extreme that when he passed through Egypt, he gave away so much gold that it crashed the economy, causing inflation that took over a decade to recover from. For the rest of the world, this was the moment Mali's wealth became undeniable. Mansa Musa's name spread across Europe and the Middle East, appearing in maps as the richest man alive. But wealth, no matter how vast, is not eternal. His empire thrived under his rule, but even his immense fortune couldn't prevent its decline. So how did Mansa Musa rise to such unimaginable riches? And what led to the downfall of his great empire? His story is a testament to both the power of wealth and the dangers of its excess. To understand Mansa Musa's incredible wealth, we must travel back to the 14th century, a time when the Mali Empire stood as one of the most dominant forces in Africa. Situated in West Africa, it ruled over vast territories encompassing present-day Mali, Senegal, Guinea, and Niger. However, its true strength lay not just in its size, but in its resources, most notably gold. During this period, Mali was the world's largest producer of gold, accounting for nearly half of the global supply. Every ounce of gold that passed through the empire was under Mansa Musa's control, making him one of the most influential leaders of his time. His immense fortune wasn't just a result of natural wealth. It was built through strategic trade, economic policies, and military dominance. His empire became a center for commerce, culture, and power, elevating him to a status unmatched in history. His wealth was so vast that it remains difficult to measure even today. 3. How Mansa Musa became the richest man in history. Mansa Musa didn't inherit just any kingdom. He inherited a thriving empire that possessed some of the most valuable resources of the medieval world. Gold and salt were the two most sought-after commodities at the time, and Mali had an abundance of both. Gold was the primary form of currency in many regions, making it a symbol of wealth and power. Salt, though seemingly ordinary today, was just as valuable due to its crucial role in preserving food, allowing people to store supplies for long periods. The demand for these resources was immense, and through a well-established trade network that stretched across Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe, Mali's economy flourished. Mansa Musa wasn't just a ruler. He was a visionary businessman and strategist. He strengthened diplomatic ties with foreign nations, ensuring that Mali remained a key player in global trade. He secured the safety of trade routes, encouraged commerce, and attracted merchants and scholars from far and wide. The influx of traders from Europe and the Middle East further enriched the empire, solidifying its reputation as a hub of wealth and culture. His ability to manage resources, expand trade, and maintain economic stability made him not just wealthy, but one of the most powerful leaders in history. 4. The pilgrimage to Mecca, the journey that shook the world. Despite his unimaginable wealth and influence, Mansa Musa remained a devout Muslim. In 1324, he undertook the Hajj, a pilgrimage to Mecca that all capable Muslims are required to complete. However, his journey was far from ordinary. It was a grand display of wealth and power that left a lasting impression on the world. Mansa Musa did not travel alone. His entourage was one of the most extravagant in recorded history. It is said that he brought with him a staggering 60,000 people, including soldiers, merchants, and servants. Among them were 12,000 servants, each carrying gold bars, while an estimated 80 camels were loaded with hundreds of pounds of gold dust. His wealth was displayed in the most opulent ways, lavishly spending on cities he passed through, distributing gold to the poor, funding mosques, and purchasing goods at inflated prices. Nowhere was his generosity felt more than in Egypt, where he reportedly gave away so much gold that it caused a financial crisis. The sudden influx of gold into the economy devalued the currency, leading to severe inflation that took over a decade to stabilize. For much of the world, this was the first true glimpse of Mali's immense wealth. Mansa Musa's name quickly spread across Europe and the Middle East, appearing in historical records and maps as the richest man alive. His generosity made him a legend, but it also had unintended consequences. By flooding the market with gold, he unknowingly disrupted economies and changed the financial landscape of the regions he visited. 5. How it all fell apart. Mansa Musa returned to Mali as the most famous ruler in the world, but the empire was not as stable as it once was. His extravagant spending had weakened the empire's economy. And while his generosity was admired, it also made Mali a target. Foreign powers and rival kingdoms saw the wealth of Mali and wanted a piece of it. After Mansa Musa's death, his successors lacked his leadership skills. The empire began to weaken as internal conflicts and external threats grew. The once thriving trade routes became dangerous, and Mali slowly lost its grip on the gold trade. Eventually, the empire crumbled under pressure from European explorers and North African invaders. The wealth that had once made Mali the most powerful empire in Africa was now being taken by foreign powers. 6. What we can learn from Mansa Musa. Despite the fall of his empire, Mansa Musa's legacy continues to inspire and fascinate historians, economists, and leaders alike. He was not merely a ruler who accumulated immense wealth. He was a visionary who invested in the development of his empire. He built magnificent cities, grand mosques, and centers of learning that transformed Mali into an intellectual and cultural powerhouse. The city of Timbuktu, in particular, flourished under his reign, becoming one of the most renowned academic hubs of the medieval world. Scholars, poets, and theologians from across Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe traveled to Timbuktu to study at its famed institutions, such as the Sankore University. His contributions to education, architecture, and trade cemented Mali's status as a beacon of knowledge and prosperity, and remnants of his influence can still be seen today. However, Mansa Musa's story is also a cautionary tale. No matter how vast one's wealth, money alone is not enough to sustain an empire. His extreme generosity, while admirable, unintentionally weakened the stability of his kingdom. The same riches that made Mali powerful also made it vulnerable to external threats and internal struggles. His wealth was so immense that it altered history, yet in the end, it faded with time. 7. Mansa Musa remains a legend, a figure whose wealth was so extraordinary that no one has surpassed it. But his story is also a reminder that empires rise and fall, and wealth, no matter how great, is never permanent. So, what do you think? If Mansa Musa had managed his wealth differently, could Mali have remained a global superpower? Let's discuss in the comments. Thanks for watching, and until next time.